Well, hey there, friends. Welcome into another episode of the Subscription Web Design Podcast. In this one, we're going to talk about how to make web design like a choose your own adventure game. Okay, you get to kind of choose your path, and whichever path you choose is going to lead to some important decisions that you have to make about your business, about how your business is going to be run, and frankly, whether you even truly want to be in business at all. So this topic might cause some of you to have a little bit of existential angst and to sort of question everything you're doing. And that's the intent. I hope that's what you do, because my opinion is that you should do everything with your eyes wide open, okay? Make sure that you're intentional about the decisions and the choices that you make. One of the things that I sometimes do is I'll tend to hear about, say, a book I should read. And I'll think, oh, I already know everything that book says. And so then I will procrastinate or even avoid reading the book to actually hear it out and to hear the idea of it. Like, I'll think that I understand the premise, and then and that's good enough. Well, too many times I have found that I'm wrong about that. And no time is more clear for me than with the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. That book taught me so much about business that I thought I already knew. It's insane. And so if you've never read the book, The E-Myth Revisited, I so very highly encourage you to read the book. Now, this episode will be a helpful starting point, and it'll set up some of the context, but please read the book. It's a fantastic book. You need to actually read it, hear the passion in the author's voice, get the logic behind the book. I have to say, it's probably one of the worst designed covers of any book I've ever engaged with. And yet the writing and the prose is just so fantastic. The stories in the book are amazing, and it's true application. It's like before business books, modern business books became formulaic, you had this. This is like the purest form of what a modern business book should be. And it's like most modern business books are just trying their best to get to the level of the E-Myth Revisited. But you should definitely do it. Read this book, okay? And one of the things that you're going to learn in this book is that when you're a business owner, you are actually three people, not one. You think you're one. And so you go out, let's just apply it outside of web design for a minute. Let's say that you are a plumber, you're working for another company as a plumber, and you think, you know what? I'm tired of working for the man. I don't like my boss, so I'm going to go out on my own and work in my own plumbing company. The moment you do that, you start your own business. You're now a self-employed person. And as a self-employed person who is good at plumbing, you will think of yourself primarily as a plumber. But you are but one role in your business when you talk like that. You're acting as the plumber, the technician. But there's two other roles beyond the technician. There's the manager and the owner or the entrepreneur, okay? So any business, even if you're self-employed, has at least three jobs, even if there's only one employee. The owner, the manager, and the technician, okay? The work has to be done. The person doing the work has to be managed, and the person managing the work has to be owned and directed by the business owner, okay? So one of the examples he gives in the book is of Ray Kroc, right? Ray Kroc did not found McDonald's, but he bought it early on and ran the business and made it the famous phenomenon that you know today. And the thing about Ray Kroc is that he knew that the restaurants that you would visit are where burgers are made. But the office for the business, headquarters for the business, that is where McDonald's was made. Okay, so McDonald's got made in the corporate office, but within any individual McDonald's, that's where the burgers were. Okay, and thinking of your business like this can be so extremely helpful. So let's think about it real quick. You got a technician, a manager, and an owner. Well, let's go to web design now. Now you're in web design. You strike out on your own, you hang a shingle up, and you are in business. Well, you have these three different hats. technician, manager, owner. Okay. Somebody has to be thinking about the strategic direction of the business. Who are our clients? How much are we charging? How are we going to market to these people? What new products and services can we offer? How do we stay on the cutting edge? How do we make sure we stay profitable? All of these questions and so many more are questions that the business owner must be thinking of and must be answering. Okay, the manager. Okay, who all do I need to be on this team to fulfill this project? How do we keep the trains running on time? How do we keep the client informed on status updates on this project and across all of our projects, etc., right? So you got project management and people management in here that has to happen. And then you have the technician, right? Well, somebody's actually got to set up the WordPress website. Somebody has to install the theme builder. Somebody has to start building on the theme. Somebody has to install all the plugins. Somebody has to converse back and forth with specifics on the client to make sure that you're getting images and content and all of this stuff. So there's technicians, managers, and owners. And if you're a solo shop right now, you are all three of these roles. Okay? So the question is, who are you going to be? Who are you going to be? You have to decide, because in my view, you don't get to forever be all three people. If you do that, you need to raise your prices. Why? Well, because a technician only has so many hours in a day. And if you're not spending any time doing the management and the ownership portions of your business, then your business is not going to grow. What's going to happen is, and I've talked to many web designers to whom this has happened, unfortunately, what's going to happen is you are going to scrounge and scrounge and scrounge to get a client. Once you finally get one, you are going to put on that technician hat for the next few weeks, maybe even a month or two. You're going to just work so hard on that client's project. You're going to do a good job. But that whole time, you're not going to do anything to bring in new clients. And then that project is done. Now you got to go out and scrounge and scrounge and scrounge for a new client. And then you're going to do it again. You're going to repeat the process. And you'll do this for years and stay broke because you never decided who you were going to be, leaned into that, and started setting up your business to do it right. Okay. And so I don't have specific ideas for you in terms of how much time you should spend on each of these roles. Mike Michalowicz writes about this a little bit in his book, Clockwork. He frames the actual scenario differently, but it's very similar in the way that Michael Gerber approaches it. And he does talk about specific amounts of time that you should spend in each of these roles. For me, just to keep it simple, I would say that if you work an 8-hour day, like a third of your time should probably be devoted to each of these individual things. And maybe you have a couple days a week where you're full on technician work, but you should have a couple days a week where you're full on doing owner work and thinking about the strategic direction of your business. You have to immediately pretend like you are three different people and be very intentional about when you are wearing which hat. Now, I think long term, you can make a decision for your business, and you should, as to what position that you would like to actually be in. Here's the way I like to put it, okay? I think if you're going to be in business, then you don't have a choice but to be the owner, the entrepreneur, right? You have to do that. If you're going to be in business, you have to get good at that. Could you eventually hire like a CEO to run your business? Sure, but come on. Let's be real. Let's be honest. The kind of money that you would need to do that is insane. It'd be way easier for you to just learn that part of the business and get good at it, okay? So here's where you got to get real. If you would forever want to be a technician, then you probably need to work for somebody else, or either partner up with somebody who their strong suit is ownership and client development and being the entrepreneur, and your strong suit is doing the work. I know of a few different companies that have those sorts of half and half relationships, and it works very, very well for them. So that's totally an option you can go down if you want to be the technician. Okay. If you want to be the owner, then what you really must do is start replacing yourself within the business as quickly as possible. And the E-Myth will teach you very practically and tactically how to actually do that. For me, my decision has been to be the owner. Okay. I've decided to take full on to that ownership, entrepreneurship route and put out as much of the other stuff onto my team who are great at the delivery as possible. Now, here's the cool thing about that. If I just loved a particular piece of the technician work, say I loved coding, or I loved design, or I loved just fiddling around in WordPress, I could keep doing as much of that as I wanted, as long as I realized that I don't have to do that for the business to keep running. Now, let's just be real. This leads to so many other benefits beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about today. It could lead to being able to have an easier time selling your business. It could lead to you actually being able to take a vacation in your business. The ability to choose what you do within your business, if anything, is fantastic. I know a lot of people who take on that owner and manager role. So they still love doing all the client relationships, all the project management, all of that stuff. But then their team does the actual button turning, fulfillment work. That's fine too. Whichever role that you're going to do, again, you need to make that decision knowing the decision that you're making. Now, before we wrap up here, there's one more thing that this affects that I want to talk to you about, and that is pricing. When you are pricing out a subscription web design job, remember, I like for you to not go beyond 3 months being profitable. But one thing that I don't think I've said enough that I'm going to start trying to remember to keep saying more and more is that 3-month time frame, that factors in being profitable on it, even if you're a solopreneur, if you had to pay yourself separately as a technician. Okay, you need to think about it in the context of you hiring a person to do the fulfillment work. So I don't care if you onboard a new client, if it takes you 4 hours or 40 hours or 400 hours to do a website build. Okay, even if you're a solo entrepreneur, you have to think in terms of those clients' payments actually paying somebody else beside you to do the work. Because if you own a business and you ever want to sell it or have any kind of valuation on your business, you got to understand it's not just you as the owner. The business has an owner, but the business also has managers and it has technicians. So you need to factor in that pricing. And when I say that you don't need to go beyond 3 months profitable on a web design project, I'm talking about with your team included. And your team, even if it's just you, is a technician, project manager, and an owner who still has to get paid. And so if you'll take the insights that I've given you here, insights from the E-Myth and insights also from Profit First that I talked about in one of our previous episodes here, I think that those concepts working together, you will be able to land on a pricing structure that makes your business profitable. And frankly, you'll be able to land on a structure for your business that makes you excited about being in business. Okay, I hope this was a helpful thing for you. If you want to hear more about this or have specific questions about it, leave a comment on YouTube and I'll gladly answer that and maybe even be able to do some additional podcast episodes on these topics going forward. Otherwise, you guys take care and we'll catch you in the next one.